That means that I think the dragon one, which we'll get to in a little bit here, will probably be the most common picked over
Spoilers, Archer. Kevin. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so Chalice is
teasers.
Next.
That's not a spoiler. That's a teaser to keep people listening. Welcome to Monsters Multiclass, your Dungeons & Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornigal.
And I'm Will Meldon.
And we'll be hanging out with you for a while to talk about anything and everything D&D related. On this episode, we are taking a look at the Circle of Stars, the Druid subclass added in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So let's dive into it.
All right, Circle of Stars. So this is all about druids who are obsessed with celebrities, right?
You got it.
So the Circle of Stars druids draw on the power of starlight. And even just reading this opening paragraph, I feel like does great justice to it because I'm in love with the flavor of this. These druids have tracked heavenly patterns since time immemorial, discovering secrets hidden among the constellations. By revealing and understanding these secrets, the Circle of Stars seek to harness the powers of the cosmos. So right off the bat, I'm loving the flavor because we've spent a lot of time with druids focused on what's beneath us. Now we get druids on what's above us. It's sky druids.
Ooh.
You know, you just gotta, it's like such a...
Night sky druids.
Yeah, it's such a like, night sky druids, yes. It's such a like obvious place to go with the druids that I haven't thought of myself. So it's just, I'm happy to see it. This lore-wise falls into where the Swarmkeeper Ranger did with me, where I'm just like, I see it and I get giddy. Like, this is good.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I like it. And the flavor text doesn't call it out specifically, but a lot of the mechanics back it up where there's kind of like that astrology aspect to it of like trying to like add guidance and predict things, and a lot of mechanics that back that up.
Yeah. And it even goes also on to say that these are kind of the lore druids, where not many druids focus on history too much, but it talks about how some groups, document observations at megalithic sites, which serve as enigmatic libraries of lore. And I love that because it brings up a lot of just astrological artifacts in the real world that you can pull inspiration from. Stonehenge, Buena Vista, El Castillo, like all of those are just like these really cool structures in history that have some form of astrological importance, be they observatories or something, that this is just the type of class that when it's at the table, I feel like as a DM, you have so many things to pull inspiration from. And that's kind of exciting for me because I think most druids fall into this issue where it's like, what am I going to make for you? What plot hooks are important to druids? Humans are being dicks about the land. And that's kind of where it ends a lot of times.
Or mean to animals.
Yeah. So this is a very different way to do it. I could see like, finding the ancient serpent pyramid and unlocking its secrets, things like that, where it's like, oh, this is very different for a druid and it still feels fitting.
Yeah, it's all very cool.
So mechanically, let's get into it. At second level, they get the Star Map ability. You've created a star chart as part of your heavenly studies. It is a tiny object and can serve as a spellcasting focus for your druid spells. You determine its form by rolling on the star map table or by choosing one. While holding this map, you have these benefits. So first, you get the Guidance cantrip, which is a fantastic cantrip. Get to add a d4 to any ability check or the next ability check that a creature uses. Usually you have to cast it via touch, so it gets a whole lot of use at every table when players remember that they have it.
Right. They still need to cast it via touch, right?
Yeah, that's the Bard Spiritual College, I think, that you could do it at a range.
They got like 30 feet or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get the Guiding Bolt spell prepared at all times. They just have it. It counts as a druid spell, doesn't count the number of spells prepared, and when they can cast Guiding Bolt without expending a spell slot up to their proficiency bonus per long rest. So at second level, that's twice, fifth level 3 times, ninth level 4 times, so on and so forth. And Guiding Bolt is a great spell. It's a spell attack. You, when it hits, do, I think, 4d6 damage. Yeah, which is
for the first level spell too.
Pretty absurd. It has the ability to crit, and it gives advantage on the next attack against that creature after it hits. So being able to cast that as a cantrip a couple of times a day, like as a cantrip, meaning no actual cost, is pretty awesome.
No, I think that's phenomenal. One of the weaknesses of the Druid that the Spore Druid specifically addressed is they have garbage cantrips.
Mm-hmm.
So the Spore Druid gets Chill Touch, which is an all right cantrip. But this is great because let's say 3-4 times a day, maybe that's how many times you cast a cantrip. Hopefully not too many more than that. But you're often maintaining concentration and looking for something to do with your action. And this is obviously better than running up and punching something. Or casting Thorn Whip.
Right. Yeah, solid damage and then the advantage on the next attack. It comes up a lot in our campaign.
I don't even think Druids get too many first level damage cantrips. Really, Druid bread and butter is having long-term spells. Things that are going for more than one turn. So any spells that we can give them that are just these quick damage dealers, it's different for Druids to say the least, and definitely helpful.
Yeah. So fantastic starting ability for them. On the guidance part of it, the only Druids already get the guidance cantrip. It's on their list. And there's not like there's so many good cantrips to where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to choose. It's like you're generally just going to choose guidance anyways, and this doesn't boost it anyway. But so I guess it does give you another pick.
Right.
Which is nice, but that's not anything like too crazy.
Right. This way you can get Druidcraft, the most important cantrip in the game.
I guess they start out with only knowing 2 cantrips. It's not a whole lot. They don't 4, so know.
As Will was just saying, though, they don't really have damage cantrips.
Sure.
So they don't have good cantrip options, so you don't need a lot. But I will say that guidance isn't like an obvious or always a pick for Druids because there's only 2. So yeah, overall this is good. I like it. I like that you get guidance.
Right.
So capping this off, if you lose the map, so your spell focus, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to magically create a replacement, and this can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous map. Kind of basic stuff there. The star map itself has a whole bunch of different options on its little table, though realistically you can come up with whatever is fitting. So do whatever you want. That's what you can do.
Yep. Be creative.
That's what D&D is really about.
Yeah.
So also at second level is Starry Form. So this is, as a bonus action, you can expend a use of your wild shape feature to take on a starry form rather than transforming into a beast. And I'm sold. Because I love these types of abilities.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about it in a recent episode where I mentioned how I loved that the Spore Druid it started this trend of using your wild shape in a different way. And it seems like they've latched onto this and ran with it, because I'm pretty sure the Wildfire one does this as well in a different way. So anyways, while in the Starry Form, you retain your game statistics, but your body becomes luminous. Your joints glimmer like stars, and the glowing lines connect them as on a star chart. This form sheds...
Which is just so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. You just look like a constellation.
Yeah. Sheds bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light for an additional 10 feet. Ooh, look at that. More areas that Twilight clerics can get their fly speed. This form lasts for 10 minutes, and it ends early if you dismiss it, no action required, if you're incapacitated, die, or use the feature again. And when you choose the form, you can choose from these 3 options, affecting you in a different way. Archer is the first one. A constellation of an archer appears on you when you activate this form, and as a bonus action on your subsequent turns while it lasts, you can make a ranged spell attack, hurling a luminous arrow that targets one creature within 60 feet of you. On a hit, the attack deals radiant damage equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. So that's pretty good. It's not crazy damage by any means, but as we just discussed, Druids don't really have a ton of great single damage options. That said, they are pretty bonus action heavy usually. So comparing this to like the second level Flame Sphere is kind of better, if not equal. So I don't know how great this is as a form.
It's not a spell slot. It doesn't compete
True.
with any other components. It's not concentration. And it's a 60-foot range, and you just make an attack where like something like Flame Sphere is I think you have 30 feet and you have to move it to where you want it to go. It could hit friendly people, and there's a dex save involved.
Hitting friendly people is a bonus.
And isn't Flame Sphere just a 1d6?
2d6.
2d6 compared to 1d8 plus wisdom. Yeah, it's kind of comparable.
Yeah, it's pretty comparable. Also, what I like about Flame Sphere is that it has some battlefield lockdown as well, because creatures ending their turn next to it have to make another dex save. So as a bonus action, you could slam it, and then you leave it next to the creature, and they might have to, well, they have to move, more or less, or take more damage.
Yeah.
So
it's not called Flame Sphere. I just tried to pull it up.
It is called Flame Sphere, but it's 2 words.
Flaming.
No way.
Flaming Sphere.
Oh, damn it. D&D Beyond Search sucks.
There it is. Yeah, second level. Yeah, the concentration slot is... I think the Archer one gets the benefit.
Sure.
You could do both, though. You could have the Archer up, because that's just a bonus action.
But it
bonus
takes
action
a bonus
to activate it. And then the flame... Oh, and then it's a bonus action to move it.
Yes. I was waiting.
I see. Okay.
And
I got there.
Most Druid stuff, a lot of Druid stuff, I'll say, is a bonus action to then control it or reuse it on a subsequent turn. Heat Metal comes to mind. That's not to say everything, and I think that if you play around this taking up your bonus action, you're going to choose spells that are concentration that don't take your bonus action to control, obviously. But I'll honestly say that I don't think this is bad. I don't think it's great. I think it's pretty middle of the road, and I'm okay with that. I like middle of the road.
You know what this pairs well with? Call Lightning. A very similar spell
that takes an action.
Flaming Sphere. That takes an action.
That's a good
point. And does more damage proportional to requiring an action.
Right.
So combining those two, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that is neat. That being said, I think the dragon one, which we'll get to in a little bit here, will probably be the most common picked over
Spoilers,
Archer.
Kevin. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so Chalice is
teasers.
Next.
That's not a spoiler. That's a teaser to keep people listening.
Because somebody was this invested, and they were like, they've been going a long time without talking about the, dragon.
Yeah.
All right, so Chalice is next. A constellation of a life-giving goblet appears on you. Whenever you cast a spell using a spell slot that restores HP to a creature, you or another creature within 30 feet of you can regain HP equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. So, not a crazy amount. Honestly, committing to this for the entirety of your wild shape, pretty hard to justify.
That's a minute, right? Or no.
It lasts 10 minutes. The shape lasts 10 minutes.
This form lasts. Okay. I say normal wild shape, it's like half your level or something. But yeah. Okay. This is 10 minutes.
Yeah. So I think we have definitely talked about in our 3 years of recording this show, I'm sure we've brought up at least once before, that healing in D&D isn't usually the best option because it's very difficult to out-heal the amount of damage that is done. It just doesn't line up. If you're a life cleric, you can do it because they get a ridiculous amount of healing. But overall, you're better off just waiting until somebody goes down and popping them back up for a turn and yo-yoing them.
Right. Yeah, so being able to do an additional healing 1d8 plus your wisdom, it's fine. That's nice. And maybe they don't have to yo-yo. They could survive a hit and get out of harm's way. But yeah, committing to it. Because that's how it works. When you go into Starry Form, you pick one of these. And then you're committed to the Chalice form. When in reality, you're probably casting one healing spell in that time, where Archer will come up every single turn.
Yeah. If only you could just at the start of your turn, just switch it up.
Right.
Now that's a teaser.
More foreshadowing teasers.
The stars are telling me that may be an option at some point.
Yes, but right now, no.
Yeah.
At second level, no.
Only way I could see doing this is if you waited for some reason to use your wild shape, and then at the end of, or midway through the combat, you were like, oh no, it's time to start healing. I will also say that druids often get looked to as a healer, but they're not at all. They have nothing that really is great for their healing. They get the standard, what's the bonus action healing spell? Healing word. They get healing word. I think they get cure wounds. And I know they get good berry. Not that that's really much healing. Will, you had to think about it. You're like, is it though? It's kind of the best healing. Eat my fist-sized grapefruit of heals. Anyways, they don't really have many options to be the healer. If you really wanted to be a solo healer, this gives you at least a better way to do it as the druid. Mm-hmm. So I like that it opens up a play style, even if it's not as great as some of the other ways to achieve that in 5e, which come down to playing a life cleric or a peace domain or a twilight domain.
Yeah.
And then we get to the dragon. So this is the constellation of a wise dragon appears on you. When you make an intelligence or a wisdom check or a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, you can treat a roll of 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. When I first started reading it, I was worried it was just going to be like advantage or something. It's like, oh, there's so many ways to get that. But no, basically reliable talent for con checks, concentration checks.
Especially
because most likely, the most common DC is going to be 10 because it's the damage you took divided by 2, minimum of 10.
Yeah. So this auto succeeds on probably like 90% of concentration checks, especially before like level 10.
Right.
It's just going to. You win. You got it. Concentration held. And I actually just realized, despite reading through this all earlier, that it also applies to intelligence or wisdom checks. I don't know if those come up in combat too much. They're not saving throws. Right. So maybe that's not too important, but even more of an added benefit.
Yeah, that was under situational. Like, if you need to try and perceive somebody in combat, like that's a wisdom.
Sure.
That would count as a wisdom check. Or trying to discern if something's an illusion. That's usually take an action to do an intelligence check. So, but that's pretty situational. The main thing is for the concentration saves.
Right. And what's also important to know about this is it pairs super well with a little feat called Resilient, taking con as your proficiency, because that gives you proficiency in constitution saving throws, which would mean that minimum of 10 is now minimum of 10 plus your constitution plus your proficiency. Because it makes the roll a minimum of 10. It doesn't make the result a minimum of 10. So if you have, we'll say, even just +2 to your constitution, which is a perfectly normal stat to have, this really means that all of your results are a 12 or lower, meaning every single concentration check that you make for 24 damage in a single instance and below, you automatically succeed. Adding Resilient on top of that puts on your proficiency bonus. It makes this pretty absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But cool.
Very cool.
And I think it also plays into the pseudo tank role that druids kind of fall into on accident, where they have a lot of survivability, but usually they don't want their concentration to drop because, that's kind of important. Look at... go ahead.
I'd say the survivability is subclass dependent. Spore Druid, yes, because they get a bunch of temp HP. Mm-hmm. And that's why Musty will Spore Druid is kind of tanky because gets all that. And then the Moon Druid without being able to wild shape and a bunch and to higher challenge rating things. This one, I don't think it has any extra survivability compared to like any other caster.
That's totally fair.
It gets nothing.
I mean, the druids really as a whole just because I feel like Wild Shape, even if it's not the Moon Druids, which is obviously the best, adds some HP, adds like an extra layer of health that they can just give themselves at any point.
Sure, but you can't do both. This is using your Wild Shape. So you're either have the dragon form up and getting your concentration saves, or you're Wild Shaping into an animal.
Right. Okay.
This druid would really benefit from staying out of the situation.
That's fair. That's a fair way of putting it. I was thinking into where druids often feel tanky, but then you run into the issue where they have to be concentrating on something. This doesn't have the tanky aspects of the other druid subclasses, but now you don't have to be worried about taking hits as much.
Which you will take every time something tries because you have hide armor.
Right.
Right.
So overall, though, this is just a fantastic ability, and I think it's going to be hard to argue with it. We're choosing Archer over it just for the extra D8 plus your Wisdom modifier potential damage.
Right. So yeah, very strong 2-level dip between Star Map and then Starry Form.
That's a good point, too. I didn't even think about this as a multi-class dip. I wonder if there's any... I was going to say if there's any other classes that would benefit from this. Probably Cleric, because that's another way to, or another class that's always concentrating on something.
Yeah. Or then Ranger.
Oh, for Hunter's Mark, so that you never lose that.
Oh, I was just talking about a 2-level dip into this class for everything. Getting Guidance, Guiding Bolt you could cast for free because Rangers have limited spell slots. And then the Starry Form, where they could do Archer, and they can be an Archer, get their 2 attacks, and then the bonus action attack, and things like that. And then plus the Druid spells. And
I'd see this working really well with Ranger, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty strong start here at just 2nd level.
Yeah.
All right, so before we move on to the 6th level abilities, I want to have a quick word from our friends at Roleplay Chat. We're doing a cross promo. Oh, you didn't know it, you didn't expect it, but here it is.
Hi guys, I'm Matt, and I am half of Roleplay Chat. Roleplay Chat is a podcast and passion project from 2 game masters who can't stop talking about role-playing games. We talk about games like Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the Fate core system, Call of Cthulhu, and many more. In Roleplay Chat, Chris and I take deep dives into tabletop RPG subjects. We touch on topics ranging from something as simple as traps all the way to abstract concepts like pacing or engagement at your table. Chris and I take you through unscripted chats, showcasing our roleplay strategies, providing you with concrete tools in the aim of improving as a player or as a game master. Our bi-weekly show can be found wherever you podcast. Just look for Roleplay Chat. That's ROLE Play Chat.
Is it done?
Yeah.
All right. So, thank you so much, Roleplay Chat. Go check them out. They have a great show. And, you can also hear our promotion, our new promotion on there. Ooh, it's just us talking. So, that's why you're here right now. At 6th level, the Druids the Circle of Star gets Cosmic Omen. So whenever you finish a long rest, you can consult your star map for omens. When you do so, roll a die. Until you finish your next long rest, you gain access to a special reaction based on whether you rolled an even or an odd number on the die. So if you roll an even, you get Wheel. Whenever a creature you can see within 30 feet of you is about to make an attack roll, a saving throw, or an ability check, you can use your reaction to roll a d6 and add the number rolled to the total. And Woe is the opposite of that. If you get an odd number, where you see a creature within 30 feet of you, make an attack roll, saving throw, or an ability check, use your reaction to subtract a d6 from the total. And you can use this reaction a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, regain all uses on a long rest.
Fantastic ability. I love that. Only little thing has going against it, it's when the roll happens, not after you see the roll, if I understand that correctly.
Right. which makes some sense.
Could be wasting it a bit, but yeah. I think Woe, the odd one's probably the best. Obviously, you can't like pick it, but hope for it. It's a roughly a 50-50 chance.
I guess you're right. Like it could be. I guess why do you think it'd be better to subtract?
I just
than
like
add?
the ability to subtract from a saving throw.
Okay.
Because it always really sucks when creatures just pass your saving throw, and a lot of spells just like nothing happens, or it's like the cool rider effect you wanted to happen just doesn't happen because they passed it. And there's not a whole lot of ways to try and like put that in your favor that aren't like really expensive, like like 3 or 4 sorcery points for the sorcerer to do a heightened spell or whatever it's called. I think it equals the spell level, so it could get very expensive.
Right.
This is when you could just do it as a reaction. Obviously, there's a limit, but being able to subtract from saving throws, I like that a lot.
I think the biggest limitation you're going to run into on this is the 30-foot range, because that's really not too great. And as we just talked about, this is probably a druid that wants to stay a little bit further from the fray.
I think 30 feet's enough to play around with.
Yeah, it's not horrible by any means. I just think you're going to run into some times where you're like, oh, I'm not nearly close enough for this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a bummer. But maybe, if you have this reaction and you know that you need to subtract rolls from people as a reaction, you're going to play it a little bit more aggressive and closer up.
Right.
And take that risk, because getting your reaction like that is very worthwhile. And I love things that add a reaction to druids because they generally don't have a use for their reaction. It's not that important for a druid to have the reaction for the opportunity attack, unless they have Warcaster, maybe? Maybe? No? Okay, yeah. It doesn't even feel fitting to me. Like, a druid and war in the same sentence just hurts.
New subclass, the War Druid.
Ooh. With a real twist, it's all about them fighting nature. I'll let you stew on that one.
All right.
Any other thoughts around the Cosmic Omen?
No, I love it. It's great.
Okay. Yeah, and once again, I'll say it's good. I like it. It doesn't feel overpowered by any means. Mm-hmm. It just feels like a good...
The temptation is there to be like, oh, this should scale to a D12. No. It's good at a D6.
Right. Because, you potentially could drop a roll of a 22 down to a 16. That's a huge difference. Did I do my math right there? I did. Jeez, that made me nervous for a second. I couldn't subtract 6. It's a tough one. So, that's a very big difference. And usually saves don't get that high. Now, Kevin, you were saying that it's when the roll is made. Can you see the result of the roll, or like the actual number of the roll when they're about to make an attack roll?
Yeah, about to.
Okay. Well, all right. Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a limit.
And I think that vindicates what Kevin said, that the woe is actually, it's better because you're looking at like, oh, here's the big bad guy. Here's the big spell. I know that I want to add this.
Right.
I know this is the time to use it. Whereas when everybody gets hit by the dragon breath, it's like, who's going to pass this? Who's going to not? You can intuit it, but you're not going to know.
Right. No, that's true. You put it to your person who doesn't have proficiency in deck saves and hope for the best. But yeah, I get that. And it does lead to the potential to waste a lot of these, which I think brings down the power level significantly. And again, I'm not upset about it. I think it's a good middle of the road. It's not overly strong. It's not overly weak. It's going to have uses. And when it works, it's going to feel awesome. All right. So at 10th level, we get Twinkling Constellations. So this is an improvement to the Starry Form. All of the abilities just get an increase. For the Archer and the Chalice, that 1d8 becomes 2d8. So, an extra 1d8 damage if you're doing the Archer, extra 1d8 healing if you're doing the Chalice. And while the Dragon one is activated, you now have a flying speed of 20 feet and can hover, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And
very cool.
Level appropriate at 10th level, because that's when flying isn't a big deal. But we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Because at the start of each of your turns, while in your Starry Form, you can change which constellation glimmers on your body. Yes!
There it is.
So, as we were saying before, where Chalice might not be a good choice to spend your entire wild shape on, now you can, have Dragon be flying around the battlefield. Maybe you want to switch to Archer every once in a while. Hopefully once you land, otherwise you'll fall out of the sky. And then, some people are starting to get down. It's time to break out the big heals. Great, you can do that. On your turn, you're going to heal. Swap it to the Chalice. Get that 2d8 plus your Wisdom modifier for 14 average extra HP. That's now taking it from a yo-yo situation to you're up, you're still in the fight, and you can probably take a hit or two. Because that's 14 extra, just to emphasize that.
Right. Now, this 10th level feature here just busts this class wide open. Like, it was already pretty solid, but this makes it fantastic. The versatility that's needed.
Yeah.
It would be hard-pressed to multi-class out of this before getting to level 10. If you were looking to go, far in this and, do a dip or something.
Right.
You would want to get to this ASAP.
And it's also just fun. It's, I don't know, I feel like it's a good progression of the class. I like that idea where you're starting off and you're like, oh, I feel kind of limited in this way. But then once I get to 10th level, that's all gone. It's just great. I just get to do whatever I want. And the power increase from 1d8 to 2d8, it just seems like it's in line.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point, it's needed. It would start to stop being useful.
Right. Right. All right, then, last up, we get Full of Stars. Full of Stars, but out of good names, I guess. It seems like they're really phoning it in there.
It is a bit of a weird name.
We get Twinkling, Constellations, Cosmic, Omen, and, I don't know, they're full of stars. They're just
stars, man.
Yeah,
they're just stars.
How many more ways can we put this? A lot of stars.
Yeah.
14th level ability. While in your Starry Form, you become partially incorporeal, giving you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, with no rider of it needing to be non-magical.
Yeah. All right. There's their tankiness coming in. Yeah.
There it is.
We got there. Level 14. It's fine. It's obviously good. There's no complaint about it. It's just free thing added on. That sort of resistance is fantastic. Those three are probably usually the most common damage type. No complaints there. 14 seems just a little late for it, where it is a little bit playstyle defining, where all of a sudden you now can start taking on that role of a little more tanky, being a little more comfortable getting up in the fray, things like that. But you've done 13 levels of not playing that.
Isn't that a good thing? I feel like to me that's a good thing, because usually by this point you're like, I'm getting kind of tired of this staying back here and always hiding mentality. And now it's like, nope, be wherever you want. You've got resistance to all the big damage. You can be where you need. Make sure you've always got the positioning to get your woe or wheel off. And I don't know. I think I'm all right with that.
That's a good point. Just kind of like a pivot to the playstyle.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say is that bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, while pretty darn common, I will not argue that. It's very common. At this level, you're probably dealing with a lot of other damage types.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's a class to deal with different damage types, this would be one, as they do get the spell Absorb Elements, which is fantastic and gives you resistance to an incoming element type. So I guess they just have a lot of options. And this kind of covers the ones that Absorb Elements doesn't cover. And that's, what, a second level spell?
It's first.
I think it's first. It's first level. Yeah.
It's a great spell.
It's absurdly good.
Does anyone...
Here's the trick, though. You've got your reaction thing going.
Oh.
Absorb Elements is a reaction. So DMs out there, you know how to play this.
It's so mean when you put it like that. Let's see, it's first level. Who else gets that? Ranger, Sorcerer, Wizard, and Artificer. Okay, so not too many others. All right. And what else? I feel like that's such a that's kind of a quiet one to end it on. How about let's compare it to some of the other Druid 14th level abilities. Obviously, it's not as good as the Moon Druid's ability to turn into a literal elemental.
That's 10th.
Jeez, what's the 14th level ability for Moon Druid?
1,000 forms. Yeah, he casts alter self at will.
Which kind of sucks, actually.
Yeah, that's not great. Because, aquatic adaptation or change of appearance, things like that.
At will is actually kind of... it's just not very good. And the reason it's not very good is because that's the most broken class in the game.
Right.
Even taking our previous episodes, cleric explorations into account. Earth elemental every turn forever.
Yeah, well, that's at 20th level. But I will say that for the most part with 1,000 forms, the reason why I don't view it as that big is because if you really, really, really need one of these abilities, you could probably turn into an animal that lets you do these things. That's what I was saying. Yeah, right. Like that's Druid's thing. So honestly, in comparison to some of these other ones, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I say the circle. I was going to say the circle, and they're all circles. The circle of the shepherd one is cool. If you get incapacitated, drawn to 0 hit points, you immediately cast conjure animals at 9th level, and it's just like they pop around you and defend you. And
yeah, I love that.
I always like that one. Yeah,
this is why I always say Circle of the Shepherd makes a fantastic enemy for your players. It's not a good player class because it bogs down combat. Do I always say that? Yeah, I say that every day. Okay. Literally every morning I wake up and I send you guys that text in the D&D chat. I say, hey guys, just a reminder, don't pick Circle of Shepherd for anything we ever do, but I will one day use it against you for my own entertainment.
Sure.
But all right, back to Circle of Stars. Overall, how are we feeling about this class?
I love it. It's great.
It's solid.
I think it's mechanically very solid. A lot of fun. Different play styles you could try out. And the flavor and built-in flavor is very cool and meshes beautifully with the mechanics.
Yep. And Will, I think your reaction sums up why I like it so much is because you didn't sit here and go, it's super strong. It sucks. It's that it's solid. It's a good class. It's not destroying the game in some way. And maybe I'm saying this because I'm still bitter about the Twilight domain that we just got off of a couple weeks ago. But it's just good. I like it. It's not breaking your game. What more is there to say?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I don't like is the 10th level aspect of it coming online, because at 10th level, you almost get a stance system. So you enter into each one of these stances depending on what you're going to do, which is so cool and so fun and so engaging that I kind of wish it wasn't that far into it.
Yeah, if it wasn't, they'd have needed to make, if they put it at 2nd level, let's say, then it would have needed to be a lot weaker.
Yeah.
Or
that's the issue.
Or if we wanted to
good way to do it.
To get into the real tweak times, then could have been a second 6th level ability just for the ability to change in and out of it. And I don't think you'd be upsetting the power balance so absurdly.
Right. But keep the 2d8 and the flying speed at 10th.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so the actual increase goes a little bit later. But I'd say I trust the playtesting at Wizards of the Coast, but I don't anymore.
I think it's actually a compliment to say that I like a feature enough that I wish you got it sooner.
Right. Because it's oh, that's so fun that I want that now.
Right.
So, yeah, overall, great flavor, solid class, just good addition overall. And I know we probably won't have one of these at the table for a long-term campaign for a very long time. I just don't expect it. But I would be very happy to have one. I think there's just tons of little plot hooks and stuff you could throw in and just great role-playing opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what else is a great opportunity? The opportunity for you to save 10% off your order at Metallic Dice Games using our code MM10. You can get 10% off dice accessories, more dice. You're still buying dice. Stop buying dice. No, I mean, keep buying dice with our code, I guess, but like, you have a problem, so maybe consider your purchases, and, well, I guess if you actually had 10% off, you could buy 10% more dice. So use the code MM10 to get 10% off your orders so that nobody takes your credit card away. Right? Right? Back me up here. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, seeing as how it's usually like sets of dice, to get like 10% more dice, you'd have to at least buy like 10 sets of dice, and then I'll free you up to buy one more set.
Buy 10 dice, get your
gonna say
11th set free? That's a great deal right there.
Yeah.
And when people question you, you say, I gotta buy 8 more sets because then I get my next one free.
Right?
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it, and if you want some other ways to support the show, because we do get, a portion of that sale. It's an affiliate program, that's how they work. You can go to monstersmulticlass.com/support to see our other affiliates. They're all amazing. And if you want to like the video or leave a review wherever you get your podcast, please do that. Leave comments. Discussion is great. Tell us your thoughts on the Star Druid. I'm sure somebody is going to tell us that it's absolutely broken, and that'll be a fun conversation because I'd like to hear your thoughts. And I actually mean that. Otherwise, just want to close out by saying thank you to all of our patrons: Jeff W., Joe P., Vincent M., Isaac M., Sentinel D20, Star Shinobi, Adam A., Home Bakery, and Ed G. Maybe next time I'll read them in reverse order to change it up a little bit. Thank you all so much for helping out the show, and that's it. Kevin, take it away.
As always, thanks for watching.